Ah,
Hello, hello.
is this your debut?
Yes, yes.
It's
Thanks
the
for having me
first
on.
time you've set
So,
out, come out of the cave and in,
yes.
eh?
How are things with you?
Um, all right, mate. Yeah, not bad. You obviously heard the story. We had Gary Player on the other night.
What? Really? I
Yeah, we had
missed that.
Gary Player. We had Gary Player on the other night,
Come
and then he
on.
and then he rang me at home.
Whoa. How was that chat?
And I can't remember. I don't think we got a word in edgeways.
Really? Holy jeez.
He just said, my phone went. I was given a lesson, and my phone's gone. And I look at my phone, it's WhatsApp call, and there's a picture of Gary Player on it. And I'm like, what's it? So I answer it, and I'm like,
Holy jeez.
amazing,
That's
amazing,
awesome.
absolutely awesome.
Very
No,
cool. I think it's really cool that, Gary's out there watching guys like you and me and all the other guys that are trying to put golf stuff out there. It's cool that he's watching and he's engaging. That's great.
yeah, I think it's mad, really, isn't it? It's
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
You don't know where. I did a talk maybe 2 weeks ago. I thought, oh yeah, this would be a bit of fun.
Hmm.
30 people later,
Right,
it's
exactly.
mad,
It's
isn't it?
becoming a TV
It's
show.
mad.
Yeah.
And me good mate Mike McNary, but I don't think he's here at the minute, said, you need to speak to Nick Starchuk.
Oh boy.
I
Oh
said,
boy.
I said, oh, he said, he'd be a really good chap.
Mike's
I
putting
said,
it out there. Okay, well, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
but,
He's
but I don't think
wow.
he's up.
No, I think it's 5 in the morning where he is.
So I don't think he's going to be around just yet. But
No,
he speaks Nick. He knows loads. He's really
that.
intelligent. He knows
Oh,
everything.
no
So
question.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
okay, perfect. I'll do that. I'll get hold of him. We'll see what's going on. But I didn't know how we would get on with it being a completely different time. I
Hmm.
mean, what time are you? You're at 8 in the morning, aren't you?
8 in the morning, great. I've been up for a couple hours. Like, I love it. My best lesson of the day is the first one. Always.
Is it?
Always. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm the most excited. I have the most energy. I don't know whether I haven't seen, 6 or 7 golf swings that maybe aren't pretty. I'm not sure what it is. But the first one's always the best. So I'm glad we could do it this early.
Oh, perfect. And you've been out swinging already, haven't you?
Not
I
outside.
said,
Our golf
what?
courses are closed. But this is my house. I have a sim in my house. So I get to hit balls all day.
Oh, that's what I saw. I saw
Yeah.
this thing, and it come through, and you got the head in the right place. The foot was rolled up. I thought, look at this is
Hmm.
poetry,
Yep.
poetry at 7
Then
in the
I've been listening
morning.
to some pretty smart guys over this quarantine. I've listened to 6 or 7 really great guys, and putting all the pieces together on how it matches up has been wonderful. So I'm really excited to hit golf balls right now and listen to, learn all this new stuff. Well, learn new stuff. That's what I'm doing.
And there's some amazing information come out as well
Oh yeah.
over
Oh yeah.
over the last couple of weeks. People just dropping bombs on, just giving it out.
I think it's great. There's 2 things that kind of restrict the golf teacher from going out and learning more. And one is travel, and the other one is the money for that travel. So
Yeah.
when you have these guys that are offering their program for 40 or 50% of the price it would cost you to fly down there and stay and do all these other things, I mean, it's a no-brainer to go through all these
Yeah.
things with them right now. And it's kind of neat because I was going through I was watching an old Phil Cheatham and Sasho video the other day as I was getting ready to listen to Scott Coates, and Scott was in the room. So it was like 2016 video, and there's Coates, and I'm about to listen to him over here. So it was kind of neat to see, the same people using their own little flair on things, and it's been awesome. I've enjoyed the learning side over the past, call it a month now.
So come on, give me some history then about Nick Starchuk. Where did this all begin?
Well, I'd have to say, ninth or 10th grade. I always played sports. You name the sport, I played it. But in the ninth grade, we moved on to a golf course. And I decided to play. New city, didn't know many people. Golf, you can play by yourself. My dad played, so I grabbed a set of clubs and went and played. After 5 years of high school playing golf and whatever, I played down in the States and played a little bit on the Canadian tour. But I got into teaching golf because of the people that I got to hang around. The first guy that I ever taught golf next to was Sean Foley. How good's that?
Wow.
You know, so I got to listen to him talk for, I don't know, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week for 5-6 years. And all the other guys that were around the academy at the time, we had like 11 coaches at this place. So I got immersed really quickly. So since then, you know, all the stuff that you're able to find again online, I've branched out, met all kinds of different people, and I've had influences from, you know, Andy Plummer with the stack and tilt things, and with Mac and the Morad stuff, and all the disciples from there. And here I am. I mean, that's kind of it, right? Like you meet people on the internet, and you meet people through your networks, and people have great things to teach you and to learn. You can learn, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, well, look what I've evolved to. I've put my own spin on things.
And you say there the Mac stuff. It's amazing how many coaches have been or are influenced by the Mac stuff.
I mean, I think that there are people out there that, you know, if Mac was beside them in line at the grocery store, they wouldn't know who he is, but they could talk P6.5 through CP and the sagittal plane all day, you know?
Yeah.
And it is. He's been the biggest influence on golf swing instruction, hands down, because I think that regardless of how far you chunk up in the golf world to, you know, you get up to Ledbetter and McLean and the guys that have really done a big thing.
Chuck's just joined.
They've all learned from Mac too, so, you know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, exactly. There's another influence. So I think that there's so many things that so many ways he's done things that how can you not have an influence? How can he not have an influence on almost everything?
I just think it's the number of top coaches now who have been influenced and not necessarily teaching the model, right? But they're definitely using components of the model.
100%.
And when I listen to whether it be Sasho or Dr. Kwon or right, you can still hear it in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can still hear it ahead of the game, which is amazing. When you look at everybody else through this time period, you know,
right.
And like, you know, there's certain things you find out that you know, like they're like gold. You think like, wow, people knew that then.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
I mean, Chuck was telling me that he had an academy with a biomechanist and psychologist and everything 40 years ago.
Yeah, I can see
That's
that.
unbelievable.
You know, the coaches that really there and look down the range and go, wow, all those people do it differently. What's going to be the influencing factor at the end of this week? And they all started to see that it's a personal thing. It's a people thing, right? So how do you now get the person to perform at their best, right? You have someone to help them feel good. You have something to, you know, up here, you have someone to help them feel good with their body, you know, and then you jump in there with your swing instruction stuff. And boy, it's like all of a sudden, you know, you've got a huge team around you. How could you not get 1% better every day?
Oh yeah.
So,
and you have a slightly different format, don't you, at your academy?
it's a little different.
It's definitely different to what we would have over here.
In what sense?
If I remember rightly, I mean, we have people who, let's say, come for a lesson for half hour, an hour, and then they go. You have people who come for longer periods of time, don't you?
Yeah, I sign my players up to, it's a year-long program, you know, paid monthly, and we get to hang out basically as much as we can. You know, there was, years ago, I kind of was talking to a guy, and he was talking about trying to get from a 15 to a 10 handicap. And, you know, it was like, he's asking me what it would take and what it would do. Is it a swing thing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, what's it worth to you? Like, what's it worth to you to get to a 10 handicap and you're a legit 10 and your friends know that you're a 10? Because ultimately, you know, a big piece of it. You know, it's worth X amount of dollars. Great. Give me X, I'll get you to I'll drop the 5. And whatever it takes. So that's kind of how I look at training my juniors and my competitive players, is that, hey, this is the program, this is what's going to cost. When you need me, you got me. And because I have access to, golf courses and, on my driving range, I usually do a day school. So I have 4 players at a time. My players get to see me a lot. In the winter, when the golf courses are closed, we're kind of approaching the end of that season now, here in the studio, I get to spend, call it twice, 3 times a week with each one of my players. And we get to practice and train, and we get to work on swing stuff. We can do some putting. We can, I do some stat stuff with the Agent 125. So there's all types of different things that we can do. But the linear model of, hey, buy 1 lesson for X amount of time, and then if you buy so many of those lessons for that time, I'll give you a discount, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but does that really work? And I'm in Toronto. I have 6 million people 45 minutes from my door, and I've got coaches that Scott Couch is 15 minutes up the street. Doug Laurie's 15 minutes the other way. Liam used to live here. There's lots of great instruction in my neighborhood. So I'm not looking to get, everybody. I'm just looking to get the few golfers that we can hang out with, we get along with great, and we have the same type of goals. I want to get you to this level. You want to get to that level. Great. I'm your coach. So
how many players do you have then during the week?
My winter program is between 20 and 25. It kind of fluctuates a little bit, but I would say that I see, it's probably 45 hours of coaching, and I get to see 20 players a week. And that's just in the winter.
Know it.
Sorry?
You really get to know him.
Oh, yeah.
On a much greater level than probably we would if we see him a minimal amount of time.
How can you get your player ready for battle if you don't know kind of what makes them tick? And that, I reflected back to 2017, which was, from my competitor standpoint, was one of the best seasons I ever had. We had over 50 wins as an academy, 3 of the provincial trophies, international wins. It was amazing. And when I reflect back on what was different about that time, it was the communication. It was the fact that, the players that won the most, we talked every day, like for sure every day. But it would be, hey, what are you doing this morning? Blah, blah, blah. Great. Hey, how was your day? What did you practice? That's if I don't see you. So the contact is really there. So I think there's lots of different of those little pieces that go into the puzzle of getting them ready to play on the first tee. And it sure isn't their P4.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I like to look at it. I'm such a swing junkie. I love the short game. I love putting. So you name the piece of the puzzle to golf, I love to do it. So it takes a while to kind of tackle all those pieces with one player.
Yeah. And when you look at that and you think how much time you spent with it, what do you think the difference is between those players that have, let's say been successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those that haven't been quite as successful? Do you think there's, within what you do you think there's a piece of the jigsaw that maybe you actually, let's say, create within your program that
100%.
That is what makes, to a degree, some of these kids come out themselves and be successful?
The environment. 100% the environment. At that time, it was weird because my goal was trying to get the best players around to hang out and practice together and talk together and play practice rounds together. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, there they are. And it was when you have that environment and they all kind of believe in each other and they all believe in the coach and you've got that buy-in, it's just a machine. It just goes. It just works. And that's been that's the catalyst that makes things better, the environment that you create.
And do you suffer with snow then?
of season, in the middle of summer, you know, you don't really want to go out too much when it's, you know, minus 20. So we get a lot of work done in the winter. And I think that if you take advantage of that, you can do some great stuff.
It's amazing how much you can do off the golf course or even just at home with a net when you take away the golf the result of where the shot goes. I think that's just an amazing. You know what I mean? And this I've certainly seen a lot of players over the last probably 2-3 who've made some really significant changes because they've committed to it and they're not worried about the result or trying to control the result.
I mean, even physical changes. Getting a player into the gym during that time, that down time, is awesome. I've had juniors that came out of 5 months in the winter just looking like different people. You know, if by chance you get a growth spurt in there, holy moly, you know, like it's just they come out as an adult with a crackly voice. You know, so it's you know it's kind of neat to see. But like I've always said that the winter time's one of my favorite times, Michael.
Mike's it. Told you. Mike said, get Nick Starchuk.
You know, it's one of my favorite times. And if you know the golf swing stuff and you know you know how to build a golf swing, holy geez, winter and indoor is awesome. And then when the time comes to open the floodgates and get outside and, you know, play 100 rounds in 100 days, great. You're ready.
And the other thing I've seen a lot of you is I've seen you, and this is probably because you're inside, I've seen you do a lot of putting stuff with, have you been using Capto?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that? I've not used that.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I got involved with Capto probably 3 years ago now. Not many people in North America had even heard of it or used it. So I called them up and I said, I'd like to, you know, help you out within Canada. And since then, the network of coaches have, you know, really given me an idea of what this thing does, because this device is huge. It gives us so much information, from, you know, swing planes to shaft planes to, you know, sweet spot planes, acceleration rates. It's all portable. So, you know, I play 100+ rounds of golf every year. I love golf. I like doing golf trips. And I can strap this thing onto the bottom of my putter and play 9 holes or 18 holes of golf, you know, with the device on, and capture what happens on a left or right putt versus a right to left putt in terms of my stroke or my acceleration, or most importantly, my face, you know. So it gives me some cool feedback. And, you know, when I look at player development, my biggest thing right now is I want to get my players to hit the ball as far as they can and to really not miss 4 and 5 foot putts, like clear. So I'm really trying to make sure that it's hit the ball far and let's get the ball in the hole and let's putt. And I love the little device. So it's increased my putting IQ by extraordinary amounts, and being able to see how all the other coaches are using it to help their players. Like, it's just been like every other piece of technology. It's elevated everybody, and it's been great. You should see it.
I've not seen it yet. We've always had the Sam Putt Lab, which has obviously been, you know, great, but it's inside, you know, and you're limited to what it can actually do.
They're both good in certain environments. And if you've got an indoor studio with a straight putt, I love Sam. I think it gives great data, and I still use it. The 3D putt, their new software is phenomenal. I like the walkabout of the Capto, that I can move around with it. You know, a player can go from hole to hole around the green, and we can do different length putts, and it gives me a little bit different information. Real time, on the spot kind of information. Like I said, like we said, the Sam's kind of stationary. But they're both awesome devices. And honestly, if you're going to help the majority of our players, having one of those 2 devices, you're so far ahead of everybody else. So,
and what have you discovered using that Capto then?
You know, it gives us something called a putt plane, which is a representation of how we're moving our body. So, you know, like if you're a player who kind of has a bit of a tilt in the backstroke and then rotate or turn on the follow through, we'll see plane shifts. So imagine having a TrackMan that showed you your vertical swing plane during the swing real time. That's what Capto gives me a chance to look at. The ability to measure the acceleration of, I'll give you a kind of a clue on an update, we're going to have the acceleration of the bottom of the putter and the top of the putter. So imagine having both of those acceleration rates. That'd be pretty cool. But the visual aspect of the reverse engineering of this is what the body did if the putter moved that way. Very similar to all the forces and torque systems that are being used right now.
And what it's just a sensor, is it, on the putter?
Yeah, it's a sensor about, I don't know, that big. And it changes the swing weight by about 0.3. It sits below the grip, below the putter. You can't see it. You really can't feel it. And it's got the electromagnetics and gyros and all the sciencey stuff, and it's phenomenal.
That's great if you take it on the green though, into different slopes and.
Yeah, really cool to be able to see how a player adjusts. Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
I think that's. I want to have a look at it. I think it sounds quite an interesting bit. Especially to put it, if you were taking someone out to play a few holes and you could put it on the putter and get the data of the putt they've just hit.
Yeah. Not
the data of 10 putts that you've hit inside flat surface.
Yep. No break.
I just think that. That there's mileage in that because that's real time data in it. Not
one putt at a time at a specific location. It gets different. So moving away from the teacher side to the coaching side, that's where I see the difference in it. Is that I can really coach with this device. I can see when they're putting well, when they feel good about things, and then see, well, hey, with like every other piece of tech now that I think about it, let's analyze when you're not doing it well and verify how that's changed. So, it's again in real time. So it's given me the chance to coach a lot better. And the feedback that it gives me, the ability to export data, the queries of the tables of being able to export stuff, it's really, really cool. I've got a couple webinars in the next 2 weeks coming up, so I'll make sure I send you a link and you can join in.
Yeah. I'd like to see and understand how things work, and what's the difference? What are they measuring, or especially when can they be used? That's right. The big when because the big data that no one could ever show you is what happened on that tee or that green, or what I mean.
Right.
And all right, might not be under tournament conditions,
mm-hmm.
but at least we've got data that is usable on a golf course.
Yeah, it's true. And there are the 3D systems out there that are now being able to take to the golf course to see how you react out there when the pin's tucked and you're on a slope and your buddies are chirping you behind you. Let's see how all that works. It's starting to evolve closer to the real time play. I've always said I can't wait to see the golf. Where when the player steps onto like the 15th tee at Augusta, that the whole tee box is like censored up. So when they hit their shot, it's like, boom, we get all the data, and it's like they walk into these little like boxes and we can see what they've done. Forces and torques and rotation rates and path and all that. And it just kind of shows up on the screen. That would be amazing to see on how things change, because then I think you start to see the analysts and the analyzers giving better information to us watching at home. He held back on that one, but his weight's 99% forward. What's holding back? And so those types of things, and we can help the average golfer with some better info.
Yeah. Mate, you're so cool. I mean, you just have this enthusiasm coming out of you.
I get excited sometimes.
I bet your players absolutely love you.
Sometimes when we get going, it's good. When I first started my day schools, being able to go like nonstop from 9 to 5 it's tough. It's a long day. I don't know how Mac ever did what he did. 12 hours, no eating, no bathroom breaks, go. Like 7 or 8 hours is a long time. So, a cup of espresso and a bag of M&Ms, you get going pretty fast. And you get chirping. So,
You know what? Mr. Player told me yesterday, you only need 2 meals a day.
2 of them?
He said you only need 2 meals a day. And he says, us lot in the UK eat too much sausage. He said, you lot in the UK eat too much sausage and bacon. That's why you're fat.
Oh, jeez. Did he talk about his anything with his physical regimen or his routine or his nutrition?
He was just going on about you should have 2 meals a day. You
Okay.
don't need 3 meals a day. He says it's historic that we eat 3 meals a day. We
Yeah.
only need 2 meals a day. And he said that there was. What did he say? He said at the moment he had a problem because he was inside all the time. He was snacking.
Oh, yes.
He said, and he's, but he's serious into diet and everything. And he told me, I asked him how he competed against the likes of Nicholas and Sneed from a size perspective. I said, because, I think you're 5'6" or 5'7", and Nicholas like 5'10", but big frame.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sneed, who is just an athlete. He called him the athlete. And I said, do you know what? How do you compete? And he said, I'll tell you something now. I am now 5'6". Nicholas is smaller than me.
Whoa. Huh.
Hey?
No way.
He said, because shrunk.
He shrunk.
Right? I had so many questions I wanted to ask him.
Oh, I can imagine.
I've got so many questions I'd like to ask him. And afterwards, someone from the camp, I think his daughter, emailed and said, thank you, stay in touch. I had so many questions I could ask him.
Nice, that's awesome. Oh, yeah.
But when you found, you just don't have it, do you?
Yep.
Just don't. So I think to myself, do you know what? You sometimes you're just lucky to have one call.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't, and I don't think I got a sentence in.
No, there's times that happens. I've had a couple calls with guys like that, and I love it because like it just shows how much passion, how much they want to let you know, right? I remember my first ever call when I looked down at my phone and it said Brian Manzella, and it was the same thing. It was a 45-minute call, and I said, "Thanks, Brian. That was great. I'll talk to you later." That's all I said. That was it. He just talked, and it was wonderful. I just sat there and I couldn't believe it. So when guys get that way, oh, it's wonderful. Learning experience for you.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you said earlier learning experience. I mean, you grew up, or I say you grew up. You were obviously at the same place as Foley for a long time.
Yeah. I taught at a club called Glen Abbey Golf Club, home of the Canadian Open for many years. It's about 5 minutes up the street here. So I joined their academy in 2004, and Sean was there, and about, like I said, 7 or 8 other coaches who were just awesome. I mean, I came in as a pretty good player. I played some Canadian Tour stuff. I played some college stuff. And, I was at in the bottom half of the playability of the guys out there. So they could teach, they could play. It was just the perfect environment. But, at the time, we really got to learn so much because whatever we wanted to do, we had someone right there who had read it all and learned it all and given us his opinion, and we got to hear how he used it. I think that's something that was different, was the best part, was that, we would talk about, well, Ledbetter's 11 links, you want to look, blah, 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 blah. But then he put it into the practical with the bank manager on Saturday morning. And it was amazing. So being able to kind of watch how he did things was an incredible time. 4 or 5 years of watching his juniors, watching the pros come through, and then, watching him get his chance with Stephen Ames and gone.
And what do you think that what pieces do you think came to your mind in terms of the success that he's had against what he was like, and you know what I mean?
It's a good question. I would just say that he's still the same, but when I say that it's the same, it's that it was constantly an evolution. It was constantly a growth type of a mindset all week, all month, all season. And it was constantly something new and better and different. I mean, I still remember I was listening to a swing captain the other day, and I remember in 2005, Sean took off from the academy for an hour and came back from Walmart with 2 bathroom scales. Guys, we're talking about how the feet work today. Okay. Cool. And that was where his head was going nonstop, constantly. And I think that you evolved from 2004 to 2020 with that same type of learn more, do more, find out more, see more, meet more, there you go. And it's been cool to see, because it's like, it's a leader, a pioneer leading a path. That's how an option you can do it. And cool. And he's taken a lot of really great players that have been underneath him, or coaches that are underneath him, and brought them on with him. And it's been cool to see the journey. It really has. And it's been even better to see now, like in the past week, he's been on social media. He's used a Zoom room. He was on Instagram with it at Andrew Rice, which might have been his first time ever, It's cool to see that he's getting out there, because, he's always said, and we've always kind of said too, that the magic isn't in the golf lesson. It's not, you're not going to get it in the DVD. You're going to get it in Sean telling you sliced the ball because of a Bob Marley lyric. Wait, what? Oh yeah, Bob said this, and then you don't slice it anymore, and it's like a magic trick. That's what it was like.
It's just, you know what? It's those little things that sometimes are the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Not necessarily the knowledge on the golf swing.
100%. Yeah.
It's all the other little ingredients that add or enable somebody to perform and play. For sure. I always see it more, I want to say, in football or soccer than in golf, because you can have a player in soccer who comes to the club, and you watch him and you go, oh, he's all right, but they paid a lot of money for him, and he's not. And then he disappears, goes somewhere else, and it's like, next minute he's the best player in the world.
Yes.
And you just think, what on earth ignited that fuse?
Yeah.
Because I watched him for 6 and 7 games going, I just don't see it. Why have they bought him?
Yep.
And then I watch him somewhere else, and you're like, my goodness.
Yeah.
Somebody, what have they said to you? He's the same person.
Yeah.
He's not changed. He's not suddenly bigger, but all of a sudden now he's Wilbeer.
Yeah. So same seed in a different pot of dirt is going to grow differently. And I think that, we see it in hockey. I get to see it a lot in some college golfers too. They go to one school that's very good, and it's a real, like a high ranked school, but just not quite the right fit. So they go back to a school that maybe isn't quite ranked as high, and boom, win. Like, didn't make a team, and then beat the entire team that they just left and won the tournament. Like, what did it? What snapped? And, I can only bring it back to my own experience, because everything else is either, maybe some twisted hearsay from a coach, or you read it in a magazine. So the only thing I have is my experience, and I'm going to go right back to that environment. And what was it that made that plant grow and that player just spark and flourish? What they were around. They were around motivating people or inspiring people, or someone that made them change a habit in a positive way. Because let's be honest, all of a sudden that player didn't start kicking the ball farther, right? Oh, wow, they're running faster. Like, and that's the golf analyst side of things, right? Wow, that player didn't do very well over here, and now he's doing really well over here. And it's all this stuff that you think that you think that you can see, but maybe it's not. And it's, if we can start to pinpoint, that type of thing, we can do it. But, that takes you into that whole different area of the holistic golf performance. You've got your swing, right? And you've got your, whatever you're going to do with your swing, you've got your fitting component, you've got your physical component, you got your mental side and stuff. But then, how are we going to make the whole thing like work and gel, and it's the performance thing. And I think that when it comes to that, it's got to be first really from the player. So does the player buy into what they're doing, and it is the player around the things that they need to make them do what they think they can do. Because honestly, I don't think that like a skill improves. I don't think that a data parameter improves. So when you take those things that we can measure out, what have you got left? And that's where I think it becomes the people side of things. And that's where I think some of the best coaches are the most out there, for lack of a better term, you know, trying to figure out which Marley lyric's going to fix your ball flight. You know, boom, it's the people thing. So, you know, that's kind of how I look at it. And, you know, I'm sure you've seen it too. Like I follow all your stuff. I see your players and what you're doing. And like, how many times have you changed the picture, you know, been a fantastic teacher, and the student's been a good student. They've gone home, they practiced, you know, they got ready to play their tournament, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Just wasn't there. Right. And if we don't...
That's a great point, because, you know, it's very easy at that moment in time to blame your swing.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
No
you know
question.
What I mean?
And if we're not, like, as I'm looking at this as a coach for junior golfers whose parents are very much involved, which is another story. You know, if you don't lay out this is the 100% of golf performance, all of these pieces, and this 20% is human, is variable day by day, and the biggest person that has an impact on this is the person himself, and next to them is the person they're around. Guess who that is? Dad, mom, right? So if they go play golf and they're ready on Friday night and they don't play very well on Saturday or Sunday in a 2-day tournament, and then parents call coach, hey, what'd you do? What happened? Why did my kid play so bad? It's the 20%, right? You agreed everything was good. It's that 20%. So how do we as parent and coach come together to get the kid or the performer to perform their best? And drilling them on the way to the golf course about their swing and their stats and their head and their this and their that, not going to work. That's not the way you got to do it. So we just have to find out ways to do it, find out things that work, you know, and everybody's going to be different, which makes it awesome, right? That's when it's not like, that's when it's not the same thing every time, you know? So it's...
That's the parents are a big piece if we go into the junior model.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it in golf from a coach perspective. I've seen it in football from a parent's perspective. You know, and you know, some of the time the kid doesn't perform quite simply because just pressure.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
You know, or expectations of others, not realistic expectations. So how do you manage the parents? Because obviously the parents got to pay a lot of money if the kid's there every day.
Yeah, no question.
You know,
and that's the balance that I've got, right? I mean, this isn't like, you know, this isn't something that's small and somewhat meaningless. This is a big deal. I would be surprised if the parent spent, you know, that much money on a sport for themselves. So it is a big deal. And the way that you have to manage it is to let the parent know that, like, you can be a parent or you can be a coach, but you can't be a blend of the two. It just doesn't work as well, because they can't have another dad. They can't have another mom, but they can have 100 coaches. So as long as you're there to make sure that they're happy, that they're firing all cylinders as the person you created, you win. We're good. We're really good. Like, let's just stick with that. So how can I, as a coach, educate, help, hey, coach the parent? You know, Doug Laurie, who lives not far from me, who's a wonderful golf coach for kids, and he does that really well. You know, lots of expectations laid out, and this is really what it is. And hey, parents, like, I'm educating you on what it is so that when you come to me with a problem, that it's not based on an assumption like, well, my kid hit the ball in the water, that's your fault. Whew. No, it's not. Remember when you caddied for them and you said, don't hit it in the water or you're walking home? That's the problem. You know? And I take it to an extreme, but like, I'm not far. So it does get intense. It does get serious because the stakes start to get high. The higher up you get, the more you want to go into things, you know. My junior players, once they reach a certain level, we branch off into two different routes. So either, yes, I want to get a scholarship to the States or play in a college team, or kind of like it for fun. We're going to have some fun, Cool. And those that want to go on the college route, we kind of have to understand, what's it going to take by the time you get there. And by the time that, they go through that path, like they start to really see all the pieces to it. It's an educational process all the way up to there because they're going to need it by the time they go there. So there's so many moving parts to the whole thing, really, so it's
The other thing, I think the other thing is even if they committed to it and they're improving, but then they decided that they just want to have fun and
yeah,
just enjoy.
cool.
They've still got some great skills that they can use in life. You know what I mean? Whether it be discipline or anything that revolves around what they've done.
Yeah, you can learn some pretty good habits in golf. You can learn some discipline, dedication. You get to network, right? You get to meet. Who knows who you can meet in golf. So when you start to look at all those things, yeah, like there's lots of players that I've worked with that have, not played college golf, got a great job somewhere downtown Toronto, which is like a New York City of Canada, and now they're 25 years old. They've got a wonderful job. They got a great young family, and they're playing golf 6 times a week at the private club. And they're club champion. Sounds pretty good. When the same guy in their junior program from 7 years ago is playing the Sunshine, Moonlight, Swing Wicked Tour somewhere, who knows where, struggling to get by. And it's like, so regardless of where you take golf in your future, the right junior program can teach you the right components and habits. And, if you get the right people involved, you're going to learn, you're going to be able to grow. That's all it really comes down to. So
I bet it's so much fun on your program.
I love it. I love it.
I
have to pinch myself.
You come alive. You like come alive, and I just imagine, you having, and purely because, like you say, you have that glow and that enthusiasm that is, I just think would be infectious. I think just ace. So here's one then. Come on, man.
I'm big on that whole, especially when it comes to performance time and play time, just the whole vibe, the whole environment, the whole feel of the situation. So, if I need someone to feel like great, I need to make all of that in me so it kind of gets onto them. You know what I mean? Like that existential kind of thought, like, hey, if I'm feeling really good and I'm excited and I've got the energy, it's going to leak off to the player. And, golf lessons are supposed to be fun. It's a sport. Everything about it is supposed to be energetic and exciting. So why not? Like, who's going to bring that to the table? The golf coach, right? The part entertainer, the part cheerleader, the guy that hopefully is going to fix, or the girl, fix your swing, but also make sure that you're enjoying the game the way that you want to, whatever level or direction you're trying to take it.
Brilliant. So come on then. Let's when did you end up in the Mac O'Grady camp then?
Okay.
And how's that influenced you?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So the first thing, you've talked to a lot of guys who have been in the program and stuff. I really wasn't in for long, very limited. After meeting Andy and Mike and going through stack and tilt stuff, and then meeting other guys that have been through the Mac stuff and then have been, asked to leave, I kind of met some people that were still in. So I got an introduction from a couple people, and the way it works. Can't tell you who those people are because they're still in. And I got an introduction, so I got to go and spend some time. And, the first school that I went to, we had no classroom time. It was all outside. So it was kind of a cool story. I flew down to California, into LA, drove up to TPC Valencia, and I was the first one there on day one. I walk into the pro shop, meet the pro. Hi, I'm Nick Starchuk. I'm a golf pro from Toronto, Canada. Great. Awesome, Nick. What are you doing here? I'm here for a golf school. What are you talking about? What? And meanwhile, I'm sitting here thinking I can't talk about this because it's like Fight Club, right? Don't talk about it. And then he's like, what do you mean? And then I start to walk away after we kind of, I said, well, let me go figure some stuff out. I'll go find my guy. And he goes, is Mac coming today? I'm like, yeah. He goes, he didn't tell me he was coming. I'm like, we're here for the next 3 days. He's like, oh boy. So Mac shows up and, hey guys, awesome. Yeah, I'm doing a school, blah, blah, blah. I need like garbage cans full of balls. So like, what? Garbage cans full of balls. Okay. He's kind of rounded everybody up. We're at the back of the driving range at TPC Valencia with these garbage cans full of balls. And I start to kind of look around the room, or look around who we got. A couple guys from Korea, wicked ball strikers. Mike Donald from US Open. I think, who did he lose to? Payne Stewart, maybe? Curtis Strange, I think. Anyway, PJ Tour player. Brian Williams, pitcher for the LA Dodgers. And then a couple of the guys that introduced me to the thing. So, we're back there where we're hitting balls, we're doing stuff. And, we started the day with greenside 4-iron chip shots from the rough. So we start with these shots and whatever. And so Mac moves around to the side of the bunker. So we're in the bunker doing it now. And yes, hail Irwin. And I'm going to tell you this story because it's kind of funny and kind of weird at the same time. So I took it upon me to be the guy beside the bunker to rake the shots for Mac. Rake the green, give him another ball, takes out his 4-iron, hits this 4-foot-long bunker shot, right? Over and over and over. And then he gets someone else in. I put the rake beside me, and Mac walks out of the bunker. Where do you think this story goes now?
I think you're in trouble.
Mac steps on the rake, smacks him in the mouth, and he walks away. I didn't see it because I was sitting down and it happened like over here. And so I'm like, what's going on? Nothing's happening. And I see Mac kind of like 10 steps away with his hand on his face. And I look around and I talk to my guy and he's like, oh my God. I'm like, what? Like, oh my God, what? He's like, he just stepped on the rake and it hit him in the face. And at this time, Mac turns around and he's holding his lip and he's like, I'm seeing stars. I don't know what to do. I'm seeing stars. And I'm thinking, it's been an hour. I'm gone. I'm out right away. So that's how I started my first hour with him. So we went through my first 3 days of 12 hours a day, hitting golf balls, nonstop, no breaks. And it was the coolest environment that I think I'd ever been in. And from there, that's when I think I started to really get the whole idea of train for longer, do it more like frequently, do these day schools more because people get more out of it. Because I got so much out of it. I learned so many different things on camera angles and all kinds of different stuff. And it was great. And so fast forward to when it ended, word of advice, just don't pay Mac with a check with your name on it. Because he's going to Google it and he's going to find out who your friends are and you're not ever going to get a call.
You pay?
Yeah.
You pay with a check?
Well, yeah, a little half and half action. Here's some money, here's a check, and oops, my name was on it. Didn't connect the dots as I should have.
Did you go as an alias then, or did you go as Nick Starchuk?
I just went as Nick. I don't think he made a connection to anything. Oh, Nick, yeah, great. Hey, Nick, like, you got a lot of these alignments. Like, where'd you learn this stuff? I'm like, I watched Jody Mudd. Jody Mudd's one of my favorite players. Like, I watched Jody. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got a lot of these alignments. And over the days, guys that I didn't know would come over to me and go, Mac really wants to know, like, how do you have so many of these alignments? Kind of do, And you just kind of, you keep your mouth closed, you keep your ears open, you listen, you learn, you don't bring out your camera, and, you spend your 3 days and you do your thing. But yeah, it was interesting. But, when you start to put some pieces together, I got into a time in a school where Mac was practicing. He wasn't playing tournament golf, he was practicing. So, two of the guys that were in the school had played golf with him the previous day. And I said, wow, like, how did you guys get in? And they said, well, we showed up at Mountain View Golf Club. This guy said he teaches golf, so we're here. I'm like, wow, do you know anything about this? He goes, No, really. 48 hours ago, you didn't know anything about this, and now you're in a MORAD school and you don't know what golf schools are all about. You're lucky. Keep your mouth shut. Listen, do your thing, you know? And so I asked these guys, and I said, like, you know, how did he play yesterday, by the way? And he goes, well, you know, he hit it about 10 feet high all day. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he'd be 120 yards out, and he'd knock down a 6-iron. What? And then you go pick up his divot. It was like, you know, the size of a shoe. You put it back in the hole, and it was just these low bullets all day. So when I got to the school, it was nothing but like no loft on the club, and the only reason your exit looked good was because the club smashed into the ground, it stayed there, and you kept going. You know? So it was cool to kind of see how he wanted to do it to become a ball striker versus, hey, I'm going to go play, so we need to hit some functional shots here. Let's get the 4-iron up in the air instead of hitting it like this high. So that was kind of neat to be able to see him during that time.
So did you hit anything above head height that week?
Not really. I did a whole lot. Like, I did so many things where I tried to feel like the butt of the club was literally going down to touch the toes on my front foot. That was the downswing. And so there was no exit, because by the time that the handle got somewhere near the golf ball, it'd be this high from the ground. The club would dig in, things would stop, you'd stand up, and it'd be like, you're over. You know, so it was nothing but hold on to everything you possibly have and crank it around the corner, and like, let's just kind of like knock these things out of the sky. Which wasn't really what I was hoping to get out of that, because that's kind of what I was already doing, but just in a different way. But yeah, we definitely did some interesting things at that time, because being able to see and talk to other guys that have been in schools at other times, the differences, man, it must be cool for a guy like Mike McNary or Dana, or guys that have spent a long time with Mac, to be able to see the different versions of them, right? Like, right off of a missed cut, I'm never letting this angle go, and you smash down, versus I played my best golf ever swinging out 35 degrees. Hey guys, we're going to launch the ball in the sky. And being able to see the difference, that would have been really cool. I would have really liked to see that. But I definitely got the one pattern. Yeah.
And how much of that do you now use?
I go back to the videos of the day, because this was great, actually. I forgot to tell you this. When I got all my videos for the day, somehow I got a picture of Mac O'Grady's passport. I don't know how that happened, but I called my guy and I'm like, hey, did you send me the file? He's like, yeah, you should look at it. I'm like, did you look at the file? He goes, no. I'm like, you sent everybody Mac's passport picture. He hung up. Immediately hung up the phone on me, and I don't know. But yeah, so I'm looking at it going, holy jeez. Birthday, all this stuff. Like, yeah, crazy. So what do I use now? I look back at some of the camera angles that he used for reasons why he used them. I look back at it as though that if I have a player that, you know, stands up a whole bunch, swings out miles, and just loses everything, you know, I can revert back to some of the videos he had with some of the players. There were 2 or 3 players that were like playing mini tour golf, and they hit it awesome. And trying to get my players to look like those guys, I use that all the time. I love putting video up of one of the guys in the group, Brian Wilson. Brian won a major league ring for the Dodgers. At the time, he was being paid $10 million not to play baseball. And he's like, I started playing golf about 2 months ago. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. He's like, yeah, I shot 73 yesterday. I'm like, no, you didn't. He's like, yeah, he was one of the guys that played with Mac. He's like, you know, I shot 73 yesterday. He's like, no, you didn't. He's like, yeah, watch this. And he tees up his driver, and he hit it to the other end of the range, which is probably 360 uphill. Aimed 30 yards right, started at 30 yards left, hit the biggest pull ever, and roped all day. I'm like, holy jeez. Literally played golf. You could count it in days, and he had shot even par. Like, phenomenal athlete. So I like to revert back.
Fastest right arm in the world.
Oh God, like unbelievable. Well, major league pitcher, right?
That's what I mean. Mac
Yeah.
must have loved it.
He did. Oh, absolutely loved it. Didn't care that, I mean, they did the shadowing thing, right? So it's like
Yeah,
Max aimed kind of square to the camera and dudes aimed 40 degrees out that way. Like you can see the whole inside of his left leg. The camera angle's awful. And then all of a sudden you look at like P6 and it's the same. They're both kind of like in line with the thing. And then boom, it cuts across the ball, you know, and it's like he hit absolute missiles. And so, you know, some of the guys were like, hey, why don't you try aiming this way? And he'd basically look at them and go, do you hit it as far as I do? You know, he showed up to the camp looking like the pitcher from Major League with the haircut, right? And the tattoos, like he had it all because he said he just came from like playing him in a play or a show the day before. So he had the haircut and he walked up to the range. He's like, I'm here for the Mac school. I'm like, no, you're not. No way. No way. He's like, yep, all good. Mac invited me. Here we go. And so, like, the eclectic group was, like, out of control. Out of control. But being able to see that stuff, you know, having the